Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I'm Brenna Foster, a real estate agent in the Middle Tennessee area. Today I'm here with Sean, a financial advisor at Bull Run Financial Group. Thanks for joining me, Sean.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so tell me more about yourself. What brought you here to Murfreesboro?
Just kind of, we were looking for our next step from Northern Virginia and, kind of where we were going to go. And with the pandemic, my wife, she's a pediatrician. So the hospital where she's at was, you know, uh, kind of keep furloughing people and came down here over the summer for vacation, loved it, and just decided we're going to move here. So, yeah, it's exciting so far. We're here about a month and meeting some great people already.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of great people here in Murfreesboro. I think it's a community that really grows on you as you get to know it more. So I know that you're kind of a big part of Facebook groups and all of that, and you're getting to know more people. So what's been your experience with that?
So I had a networking group in Northern Virginia where we moved from for about 2.5 years and basically decided to create the same type of thing here. And so far we've had probably about 35 or 40 business owners or, people that are growing their business join the group. And the idea of it is really, it's called BAPEN, BAPEN, which is Business and Professional Events for Networking. So it's just really an acronym that my wife made up actually. And,
Yeah, I
the
was wondering
idea,
about that.
yeah. So the idea of it is really to just bring together business owners and business people that are growing their business and share ideas because I think that's where there's a lot of value that comes to the table. And I've done all the networking, not all the networking groups, but I've done networking groups where you have to pay a lot of money or you have a certain particular time commitment, and they all have their purpose. But I wanted to create something that was free. There's no obligation. It's obviously what you put in is what you get, and so
Right.
people show up and meet other people. You know, I think everybody when they're starting out in networking gets the sense in their mind that I'm going to go to this place, I'm going to get 25 business cards, I'm going to hand out as many business cards as I can, and I'm going to get tons of business. And that's really,
Right.
I mean, you can do that, but that's not going anywhere. To me,
Right.
networking is about meeting people, developing relationships, so that when someone says, "Oh, I need a person that does XYZ," I'm going to actually feel confident that I say, this is the person you want to talk to, or here's two or three people that I trust that you want to talk to, as opposed to, yeah, I just met this one person at a networking event, so go ahead and talk to
Mhm.
them. Nobody really does that.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And I've already been to one meeting, and of course, I'm gonna, go to future ones as well. And you offer a lot of just advice. So last time it was LinkedIn. So you kind of just do different things each week. Do you have some future ideas coming up as well?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's really the key is coming up with different ideas, but really the idea of the group is not just for me to lead it. It's to I always think the best way to have leadership is to help everybody else grow as leaders as well. And that's what we all are as business owners. So I think
Absolutely.
a lot of it is, the time before that was talking about how to get referrals. And, when I learned this one meeting I went on to, it was eye opening. It's like, hey, do you know any referrals? Well, people don't know referrals. They know people.
Right.
So, hey, I grow my business by, working with more people. So who do you know? It's like, well, that kind of comes across as what can you
Right.
do to help me? Like that you owe me something. No, like if other
Right.
people in your world have similar issues or problems that I can help them with, I want to help your people. If there's any people that you have, that I can help, then definitely I'd love to help them too. And there's no cost or obligation for them to meet with me, but I would love to help them with the same type of issues that you have. And again, if I've delivered excellent value, then you're saying, yeah, I want to do that for people that I know. Like going forward, I
Okay.
think, yeah, going forward, I think, a lot of it's going to be, topical as we kind of go along. Say, well, what else do we want to talk about? One is giving a great presentation.
Hmm.
Probably going to be for the next one, and that's around. Actually, there was a gentleman from AIG, Charles Samuel, who gave that presentation to the um, the DC chapter of the Financial Executives Networking Group, and he did an amazing job. And he talks about the different techniques and the different things that you want to do to deliver an amazing presentation online, because many of us are
Right.
used to being in public, have people sitting in front of you, and you have your whiteboard behind you, and or your PowerPoint slides, and how to stand out as someone who that you're going to connect with the people. And I think part
Absolutely.
of it is, as we were talking about, and before we started recording, it's one simple tidbit I'll give away right now is your background. Is it super busy
Right.
or is it simple? So you want people, believe it or not, you don't want those fancy Zoom backgrounds or whatever. People are going to be looking like, is that a fish behind them, or those type of things.
Right.
You don't
Yeah.
want anything that's going to distract them from you. It's like, here it is, me. I'm talking to you. I'm going to share these ideas. So
Right.
there's as few distractions as possible is one of the,
Absolutely.
and there's plenty more.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm definitely going to be tuning in to that meeting because online, presentations are more important now than ever. So that's definitely one I will definitely be tuning into. So I kind of want to go more towards what you do as well and speak to that. So I'd like just a summary of all of the services that you do as a financial advisor.
Sure. And I actually am Series 65 licensed. That means I'm a fiduciary, which means that I
Okay,
have to put the interests of my clients before my own. And I take that
absolutely.
very seriously. It's really important to, come to the perspective of what's important to you. What's important to me
Hmm.
doesn't matter. And as far as financial advisors go, I think a lot of people have the conception, or hopefully misconception, that it's like someone who's going to tell you what to do with your money.
Hmm.
No, it's a collaborative effort, right? So it's a matter of
Right.
helping people put together their budgets. To me, the most important one is making sure you're not going to run out of money in retirement. So how do we do that? We have to know what your income sources are. We have to know how much you've saved so far. We have to look at what happens if the market does really well. What happens if the market doesn't do very well? How comfortable are you taking market risk? How comfortable do you want to have a certain amount at market risk, and if you don't have to on the rest, or would you rather just shoot for the moon? And how does that all make sense, right? How does that
Right.
all work together? And then it's access as well. So it's, hey, I'm looking to buy a new house. What things should I be thinking about?
Hmm.
And a super huge and important one is taxes.
Right.
Probably the single biggest expense people will have in retirement is taxes. And it's something that, generally speaking, if you're not thinking about it, which most people aren't,
Hmm.
you're not properly tax planning ahead of retirement. And then once you get there, it's kind of too late. Just like most people, they do. You go through the year, and now here it is, tax filing season. March, April, and we give our stuff to our accountant. We go online and say, well, what happened? There's
Right.
nothing we can do because the year's already over. So the idea is to look at things from a planning perspective during the year, to say, what can I do today so that my tax liability for 2021 is less? What can I do today so my tax liability for 2031, 2041, and so on, and even further out, will be less?
Right. So, kind of how much are you throughout the year meeting with your clients? Is it just around tax season or is it consistently throughout the year?
Yeah, good question. I'm constantly looking for new clients, and obviously moving to the area.
Right.
And I have capacity to handle more clients. So initially, I have a conversation with them, and it's really, it depends on what the client wants, right? That's what's the most important. A lot of times, advisors, and I'm a student of the game, so I study a lot of this stuff. A
Mhm.
lot of times, advisors will say, well, one of the benefits you get, Mr. and Mrs. Client, is that you get to meet with me 4 times a year. And if that person's like, oh gosh, I got to do this 3 more times a year, then that's
Yeah.
not a value add to them.
Right.
If you're bringing a great value, it's like, here, I'm teaching you, you're learning this, that, and the other, and these are things that are going to really benefit you. Then you're probably saying, cool, I want to meet with you 1 more time, 2 more times this year. Or this is exciting to me. Yeah, if I can do it every month, cool, that's great. But there's other people that say, I just want to meet with you once a year. And if I can make that as short as possible, great. Um,
Right.
and and that's really what it comes down to, is just being mindful of what is it that's going to add value to you. So I have
Absolutely.
I have like 100 different ideas, but if 10 of them would be great for you, and 5 of them would be great for somebody else, and so on. But it's really, to me, educating the people,
Right.
educating my clients, and then walking with them through the process so they can decide, well, what do I like out of this, and what's meeting my goals, not Sean's goals.
Right, absolutely. So what's some of the advice that you would give to someone my age? So I'm in my early 20s. I haven't really started towards any kind of planning. What would you give advice to for that as well?
That's a great question.
But you get a lot.
Oh yeah, no, I'm fortunate because my background's accounting, and I spent 15 years in corporate tax. I have a master's in taxation, and one of the things that I remember reading early on was start saving as soon as you can.
Right,
And just kind of an anecdote on that, if you took two different people, one person that was 20 and one person that was 30, and they each saved $1,000 a year, the person who's 20 and saved $1,000 a year from 20 to 30, and then the other person went from 30 to 60. At age 60, the 20-year-old would have more than the 30-year-old had. And that's
right,
because of compounding. So the earlier you can start, even if it's just putting a small amount away and then just building that up over time, that's a super great key to success. Start with as small as you can and then just increase it. So as you make more money, start increasing it more. And that's what I did when I get raises, like I got a 5% raise, I'd raise my contributions to my 401k by 5%.
right.
If I got a 10% raise, maybe I raise it by 7 or 8, or maybe even 12%, because it still might be more money.
Right, absolutely. Do you have any like money saving advice or, ways just to put it away and not think about it? Like, what's kind of your advice for that as well?
Yeah, so it really depends on what type of person you are. So if you're the type that if I have the money in this account, then I'm going to spend it because it's easy to get to.
Right.
You want to make it, yeah, you want to make it as difficult as possible to, get that money.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not a big fan. I had been in the past, but I'm not a big fan of saving and savings accounts now. Now you need to have your emergency fund.
Right.
So, the car breaks down or something goes wrong that you need to buy a new computer or whatever it is. You want to have that money available to you. So you need to have an emergency fund. And generally, you want to have 3 to 6 months, is the rule of thumb, put aside, in case something happens, and like something being a pandemic, right? If people are out of
Hmm.
work for, 6 months or so, do they have the wherewithal? Do they have the money put aside to weather the storm? You
Right.
know, once that happens, once you have that covered, then, the 0.01% is not going to cut it. You got to beat
Right.
inflation. So you want to create, retirement plans. You want to create investment plans, and kind of walk through all that and say, okay, the average American is doing well, if I put 5% of my salary into my 401k, and I'll see what that is when I get to retirement. Well, if
Hmm.
that's not enough, once you get to retirement, you're in trouble.
Right. You don't want to be guessing for sure.
Right. So the key is, and it's kind of the whole begin with the end in mind. And so what do I need to live on in retirement? And let's work back from there to today and say, well, what does that mean I have to put away? And then there's looking and saying, well, if the market does really well, then obviously I could put away less now, or I'll have way more in the future. Or if potentially things aren't as good, I'd want to put in more. So finding those balances, finding those levels, and nailing that down is something that I help people with as well.
Absolutely. And I know it kind of may be a little more complicated and a little longer in the question, but how do you determine how much you need in retirement? What kind of like plays into that and what factors do you consider when planning for that?
Um, a- Absolutely. So, one of the things you want to do is say, okay, well, what is my income going to be? What's my lifestyle going to be?
Right.
So if someone's a homebody that's just going to, maybe take one, local trip per year, they're not going to need as much as somebody else. But generally speaking, you say, well, what is my income level that I'm expecting? If you're talking about yourself versus someone in the middle of their career, you're going to be in a situation where, you're going to say, well, maybe today I make 60,000, but, I want to make 150,000.
Mhm.
And in that case, you say, okay, well, I want to have in retirement at least 80, maybe 100% of what my current salary is, or
Okay.
what my goal salary is. And then will I be able to get to that with what I'm putting away?
Absolutely. That makes, yeah, a ton of sense for sure. So, I'm a realtor and I get a lot of questions about how people should be saving and how people should be considering with their credit for first-time home buyers, because I speak to a lot of them individually. What would be your advice to first-time home buyers on how to save
That's a
and
great
prepare as
question.
well?
Yeah. And I was in that boat, at one point in
Right.
time. And so what I said was, okay, I want to pay off everything I possibly can. And I want to see what my expenses are. And I want to have a good grasp on that. And then I have to say, well, okay, if I'm renting, well, my rent will go away, but what will my mortgage and what will my costs be? And, what money do I have to kind of have as, the emergency fund for, you're in an apartment and the sink leaks. Well, you call the landlord and say, come and fix it. It doesn't cost you a
Right.
dime. You own a house and something goes wrong, you got to pay for that. So you want to kind of have all that considered, not just, well, I have $2,000,
Mhm.
I can make up a number. I have $2,000 a month and my mortgage is $2,000 a month. And then, all my other expenses are 3,000 and my paycheck is 3,000. Well, then you're going to be in trouble. And
Mhm.
that's to me what caused a big part of what happened in 2008 is people had every dollar they had in their home. Real estate's a great investment, but you shouldn't have every dollar that you make going in your home, even if you think it's going to go up. I saw plenty of
Right.
people buying homes that were like, they had $20 left at the end of the month after they paid their mortgage and everything else. That's not a good place to
Yeah,
be. Make sure you have plenty of, wiggle room so that you can take care of all the unexpected things.
absolutely. Yeah,
And
I
then
completely agree.
absolutely check your credit report ahead of time also. You want
Mhm.
to make sure that, the things that you're expecting are where they are and what does your credit look like. And then
Right.
also another thing I'd be happy to share with anybody if they're interested in having an Excel spreadsheet that gives you a sense of here's how much my mortgage would be. Here's what my interest rate is. Here's how many years. This is roughly what your payment's going to be.
Right.
I'd be happy to share that with anybody that wants to reach out.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
that is one of the most, like, that's the best thing that you can do beforehand. Just look at it and see what your expenses are going to be. That's what I recommend all of my buyers to do each time because, when we're putting an offer in, even in that moment, saying, okay, how much is everything going to be? Because in the heat of the moment, it can feel overwhelming and you're like, let's just do it. I want to win it, but you need to think about it in a strategic way. So for sure. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. If there's any other questions or anything that someone has, where can they reach you?
absolutely. So they can call me. I still don't have a local number, but nobody does, right? So
Right.
um, yeah, my best number is 571-350-9307 or S Moran at Bull Run FG, so Bull Run Financial Group.com.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
by all means, I'd love to help anybody that needs some help.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for watching. Once again, I'm Brenna Foster, a real estate agent in the Middle Tennessee area. Be sure to check out our community local website, welovemurfreesboro.com. And if you have a business that you want to be featured, reach out to me today.